We're live!
What is up, everybody? Welcome out to our Sunday night live stream. I am Buck. This is Justin. For anybody new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. We got some cool topics to talk about tonight. One of them is a kind of a rebound topic from last week's discussion, and a new one about tattoo removal.
I regret my ink.
Yeah, but you know what? Before we get into that, though, I want to make sure we cover some other stuff and talk about some other stuff. We'll give it a minute here. Make sure we get some people coming in. If you're out there and you're in the internet world, say hello in chat for us. Let us know you're out there. And, you know, I got some cool stuff to talk about from yesterday. And so, all right, we got Nikki, our moderator. What's up, what's up? And, you know, man, it was a cool day for me yesterday. You know, I had a break yesterday from some of the drama that's going on with, you know, my mom being sick and all that. And it was really cool, man. It was cool to get out and you know, enjoy the day. So I was totally digging it. And, you know, I just want to make sure we get some people in. I know we have our repeat listeners that always stop in, you know, and
The
faithful followers.
The faithful followers of the two fat guys.
Yes. I just want to make sure everything's cool. Do we sound good? Everything sounds good.
I think that's got the makings of a Facebook group.
The
faithful followers of the two fat guys.
Yeah, there you go.
Get in on the ground floor.
Somebody get on that. So I had a chance yesterday to do an interview at the Battlefield Tattoo Expo in Gettysburg, PA. And
why is it called Battlefield?
Because that is where the famous battle happened of Gettysburg.
That.
Yes. So
that was in the Korean War, wasn't it?
Negative, Ghost Rider. That was Civil War, and
that was the war between us and Britain.
Yeah, that was World War I. No. So yeah, hey, I tried to email you, not worked out. Ola from Spain, Drag, try again. We'll get into that. I'll make sure I post it again tonight.
Hey, Drag.
We also have a video coming out. I think it's going to come out Tuesday that Justin did. Justin and I did together as a quick video for the announcement, and kind of gives the details and backstory of what we're looking to do and how we're going to do things. So it'll be cool. We tried to make it as unedited and natural as we possibly could, almost kind of like our live stream.
Yeah.
So nothing fancy is going to happen. Yeah, so yesterday, Battlefield, Harley, whoosh. They're not paying me.
Is there a Battlefield Harley?
Yes. So Battlefield Tattoo Expo, I was there to interview the Art of Lord Grimm. It's a dude from Instagram that I've been following for quite some time. Him and I have been going back and forth trying to set up time to, you know, do an interview, man, because I really want to get his opinion. And he was also one of the new school, kind of newer guys.
Where's he out of?
He's from down in North Carolina or South Carolina, one of the two. Fort Bragg. So he's got, like, he's, you know, the newer guys that are doing the crazy, awesome, realism stuff.
The art.
Whatever. But he's also very adamant about sticking to the history of stuff as well, and sticking to the traditions of this. But he's also one of the first guys in that realm that gave me mad props about the channel and doing what we're doing. So him and I have kind of held this cool rapport back and forth, and I finally got to interview him yesterday. So that'll be coming out soon. But while I was there, you know, I met up with the mayor of Tattooville, Chris Longo.
Mr. Longo. Healthier these days.
Yeah, definitely. He's definitely feeling better, he said. And what's up, Shiro? You know, him and I talked for a little bit, and I was going to try to interview him yesterday, but him and I got sucked into doing this, being judges for this pinup / bikini contest.
Yeah, I saw some of that.
and it was interesting. It was interesting. Not really my forte.
No? No? Girls in
no.
bikinis aren't your forte?
No, I don't like to be judgy.
Ah.
How's that? In all honesty, really, I just like to sit there and put a number on. Be like, oh,
I mean, you had to like number them? You didn't just say first place, second place, third place?
no, man. There was like categories of their walk, their outfit, their crowd presence, their crowd reaction. It was very. I'm like, man, this is too nerve-wracking for me, dude. I don't test well.
Yeah. Plus, you're going to hurt their feelings.
And there's that too.
Yeah.
Like every one of those girls were super nice. Nobody deserved to lose. But you know, it was cool. It was cool. You know.
Did anything else happen in Pennsylvania yesterday? Of note?
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that. Definitely not even going to touch that subject. As a country, we are going through it right now, and that's enough to be said right there.
That was some crazy shit, man.
Yeah. Stuff that we'll probably, hopefully, never have to see again in our lifetime, but whatever.
Incidentally, that's the second time Buck and I have seen that in our lifetime. Not to get into it.
Yeah.
But when we were kids, Reagan was shot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he
came back like a champ.
Yep.
And then he had a...
Shot 3 times, shot 3 times?
Something like that. And then...
got a collapsed lung.
I remember him being healed and doing the... doing some like, award ceremony or something, and somebody popped a balloon, and he was like, "You missed me."
Yeah.
Gangster, dude. But, so it was a very cool day yesterday. I had a really good time.
Not
man.
that, just the Battlefront.
Yeah, the expo thing. I had a really good time. It was cool. A lot of people were, interested about the show. I got this cool little shirt right here from Ink Cartel people, or Cartel Inc.
Nice.
I got to see dude doing hand poke tattoos, dragging somebody or another.
What, Tabori style? Like Japanese?
No, he was actually doing the tap, where he was tapping.
Wow.
Dude, it was bad. It was badass, man. And I said to the guy that was getting it done, I was like, man, how does that hurt? And he was like, actually, it hurts less than a machine.
Was he telling the truth, though, or was he like...
Well, his wife got hers done first, and she said the same thing. So then when he went, like, he was like, yeah, man, it really doesn't hurt as much. So...
Samoan-style designs, or you know what I mean? Polynesian?
Yeah. It was definitely that Polynesian. So I don't remember the guy's name. It was Dragon something or another. I don't,
Wait. Speaking of Polynesian tattoo designs, I don't know if this is true or not, but as I understand it, in Disney World now, there's going to be Maui's Tattoo Parlor. There's going to be a tattoo shop in Disney.
Okay. Well,
in one of the resorts?
You're not it's popping everywhere, man.
Is that the signal for the end? Do you think?
I don't know, man.
Like, really? When I heard that, I was like, and bear in mind, I have young daughters, so I loved Moana. I thought that was, you know what I mean? That's the good thing about having kids, is you get to watch Disney movies. I love Disney movies, most of them, but
I can't remember last time I saw a Disney movie, dude.
But I mean, a tattoo parlor in Disney World?
I think
what is the world coming to?
I think the last Disney movie I saw was like The Fox and the Hound.
Really?
No, actually, well, is Shrek? Shrek is Pixar, though. They're not Disney. So...
Is Shrek isn't a Disney movie.
No, that's what I'm saying.
They make fun of Disney.
They're Pixar.
Yeah.
Different company, right? But, yeah, man, so, the guy, Chris, that was running the event, I didn't catch his last name. Super nice, man. Was very cool. Was went out of his way to make sure I was comfortable and had a space to do the interview. He was actually going to give me a booth, and I was like, nah, man, I'm a little weirded out by that. I didn't have, like, a banner. I didn't have anything with me, so it would have been kind of, like, weird just sitting there.
Right.
But he also has a tattoo magazine that he puts out. He publishes. He gave me the first copy, and
I'm interested in seeing that.
yeah, I was going to bring it tonight and I forgot. And the cool thing about it is, dude, is that first one was about sobriety in the industry. So that was cool. That was cool, man. I was like, what made you do that, dude? And he was like, hey, man, I just realized that there was a lot of these younger guys that are coming up and younger people that are coming up that are starting to become, clean and sober. And I was like, yeah, okay. I mean, they're realizing that, getting shitty and whatever is not helping their business.
That is a young man's game.
For sure. So, it was a really cool time, man. I'm glad I went. And, I was really, I'm going to do an interview with Chris Longo. Him and I'll figure it out where we do it or whatever, but I keep running into him at conventions, and I should have just did it yesterday. But by the time everything was kind of over, the bikini thing and all that, he was still kind of walking around and talking to people, and he wasn't back at his booth. So I was just like, you know what? I got to go, man. It's time to go anyway.
Just as a side note, Chris was like a fixture at New York and New Jersey tattoo conventions for years. And if you want to get him on his Facebook, he's letting go of a lot of his original art.
Yeah. Yes. And his Instagram is Mayor of Tattooville.
Okay.
And he's got a lot of his flash and stuff put on there that he's getting rid of.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what he was doing there yesterday, actually. He was selling artwork and flash. So, What's up, Sarah? Welcome to the show.
Hey, Sarah.
No need to be. Hey, guys, I was sorry I'm late. I was at the beach and lost track of time. Well, aren't you lucky? You're never late. You're always on time because you made it. That's all that matters. So, I want to get into the first topic that we had lined up. It is the topic that I chose for the thumbnail, thinking that it might set off a few bells. It is the topic of Gen Z, and they're now going and relying more on tattoo removal. And I got to find it real quick because I was going to put it on. Give me 1 second. I had it on the wrong article.
So I have a funny story about tattoo removal. A buddy of mine years ago went to, when there was only a couple tattoo removal places, he had both sides of his neck done, really big, pretty full pieces. And he went to a place in Philly, and they said that it was going to be $2,600 to $3,000 to get both sides of his neck done.
Wow.
So he sent to China and spent $1,800 and bought his own tattoo removal laser. And he came to my shop. This was a guy I sort of came up with. And this is just, old time stories. Don't
do this at home, kids.
Don't do this fucking home. And he's like, yo, man, I did some removal work on my arm, but now, I need to try it on someone else. And I was like, all right, dude, I got a couple tattoos I might want lightened a little bit. So we just, I don't know.
Just went at it?
Just went at it, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, sorry.
Don't try that shit at home. That's crazy.
They're basically saying in this article, which was in USA Today.
USA Today.
Gen Z is experiencing tattoo regret. Social media may be to blame.
For them getting tattooed or for the tattoo regret?
The tattoo regret and the removal part of it. So I think both, actually. Let's get into this real quick because I think there's going to be parts in here that you and I have actually talked about at some point on this show.
Okay.
And then there's other parts where it's like, whoa, what the hell? So it starts off talking about this TikTok influencer. I'm not going to mention her name. She spent tens of thousands of dollars on tattoos in her 20s and now is regretting them. She understands that there will not be the ability to remove all her tattoos, but she is saying that it's limiting, man, I'm blending words, her modeling career.
Okay, so how is there a picture of her? How tattooed is she?
I don't want to put her. I don't.
Oh no, don't put her up. I'm just curious.
Yeah, she's got like chest and arms done.
But I mean, is she extensively tattooed? Back, leg, stomach,
Um,
torso?
she's got a lot. I wouldn't say extensively, but she's got them in areas that are very visible, depending on what type of outfit she wears.
So early on, like Zen Gen Z people will probably remember this. It was Dita Von Tess, right? She dated either Reznor or
Marilyn Manson.
Marilyn Manson, and she was a tattooed fetish model, right? Being tattooed was part of her gig, and then there was also Masayumi Max, and she was extensively tattooed, and she does a lot of burlesque stuff in Vegas now. But that they weren't just models. That was their shtick. They were like,
Yeah, they made their money off of being an alt tattooed person.
or come to think of it, remember the Suicide Girls?
Yeah, yeah,
I remember the Suicide Girls.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Remember the Burning Angel Girls?
No.
Yeah,
So
either do I.
she apparently shared her experience in 2023, and she said there's definitely a stigma around. You were right. The older people were right. So she's saying that the older people in her life before she got tattoos said, "Hey, don't get those tattoos. You're going to regret them later." And it goes into where they said, she received hundreds of direct messages sharing the same sentiments of tattoo regret.
After she came out about it?
Yeah. So see what I'm saying? Like this is where they're saying that social media is pushing it now, because we have influencers out there that are starting to say, "Hey, I regret my tattoos and I want to get tattoo removal." We're going to get into this because this is going to back up some of the stuff that you and I have been talking about.
So just out of curiosity, right? So we understand that part of social media is the creation of controversy, right? The creation of subject matter. How much of this is just a ploy to gain attention and followers, like a strategy? I mean, because without
like the girl with the facial tattoo
right,
that I can't get a job, boo hoo hoo.
Right. Because there are definitely, I mean, it might seem cynical or jaded, but without a doubt, there's social media people that are very strategic about what they say, what they do, because their business is generating interest, right?
So Sarah said, "I think when someone gets tattooed just for an aesthetic, there is more room for regret."
I agree.
I agree with that. I think that we're actually getting ready where they're getting ready to talk about that. So they're saying that this one, artist is saying there's a difference between an immediate regret and then there's the later on regret when you start to hit certain milestones in your life.
So I actually saw a TikTok, like, how do I be diplomatic about this? So there's all the safe space issues, right? And, I've seen them for, like, safe spaces for obese people that are tattooed or tattooers.
Yeah.
Different lifestyles, things
We belong
like that.
to that group.
Yeah.
The safe space for fat people tattooed.
Right. I mean, I've actually seen that. I've actually seen that.
I have too, but I was just joking that we're members.
And
card-carrying members.
Yeah, I don't need a fucking safe space. But anyways, there was a TikTok I saw about this woman was talking about the immediate feeling after getting tattooed of the painful uncertainty and but she was talking about it almost like as if it's a psychological malady. Like, do you suffer from instantaneous tattoo dysphoria immediately after getting tattooed? Are you confused and regretful of your decision? You may have an issue. You may have a psychological issue.
I mean, I've heard of people getting like tattoo flu, but I've never heard of any psychological dysphoria.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I wish I had saved it, but at the time I just thought it was so.
How many of you out there were listening right now have actually heard about tattoo flu? Just give a yes or no in the chat.
So let's yeah.
I'm curious to see how many people actually know about that. While you're at it, hit that like button for us and push this out to some other people. So they're saying that they're, later on in life, you have those regrets, right? And they're talking about like concerns over like wedding gowns, or there's videos that often spotlight patchwork tattoos because it's became increasingly trendy in the past 5 years. And it looks, it's not a full cohesive sleeve. And to me, there's another in here where it talks about that when they're acting more impulsive. Sorry, there was a bunch of loud Harley riders going by. Scumbags. People may be acting more impulsive and basing their tattoos on what people think is attractive at the time. So here we go. This is where Justin and I have talked about, and they actually say this in here, which kudos to this tattoo artist that said this. If you are taking the time to think about where you're going to get tattooed, what you're going to get tattooed, what tattoo artist you're going to go to, you're going to probably not have regret. Because you're going to go through the motions of thinking this through, and it's not impulsive. And, oh my God, everybody's got this cool toaster tattoo. I want to get that toaster tattoo I'm just throwing one out there because it was one of the ones I saw on the Ignorant Tattoo when I was looking at pictures. So they're getting these little patchworky tattoos at high volumes of tattoos at one time.
So they're
impulsively.
So they're getting infinity symbols and.
No, they're talking about like the people that get like they come into the shop and they get 4 little bangers at one time, and then they go and get another 4 bangers because they're really not thinking them through. They're just like, oh, that looks cool. Let me get that. And they're the ones that are regretting it later. But see, to me, though, that's how it used to be. You would go, get something off the wall, the flash, whatever, but you understood this was it. You're going to have this forever. This isn't a, hey, this looks cool right now, and a year from now, I'll probably get rid of it.
So, I feel like such a curmudgeon sometimes.
You kind of are, but.
So when there's no consequence to the decision, all right. So you get the numbing cream, you get the numbing spray. So there's no pain involved in the process, right? Like, I mean, I earned my tattoos. I suffered to get my tattoos. It was painful, and there was a cost to it, right? But if there is no cost, if it's just something you did like getting your nails done, and then you get tattooed with the understanding that if you get bored of it, there's dozens and dozens of tattoo removal companies now that do an effective job. Like it used to be that, I remember that to a time when to get really effective tattoo removal, you had to go to a plastic surgeon. I mean, it was pricey and it was involved. Now it's just, a trip down to the local tattoo removal place. So there's no investment in pain, and there's no investment in the idea of permanence. And we were built differently.
For sure.
Not from everybody that's new. Like as Jesse says, there's a core. There's a core group of people still getting tattoos.
Yeah, this isn't us just taking a jab at new people that are coming into this at all. There's just a certain sect of people that seem to fall into the I think it's cool category, and then 5 years later they realize that this tattoo thing ain't for everybody, and now they're stuck.
When it so, I
Maybe
got,
I'm seeing it a different way than you.
no, I mean I got the impression. I get the impression now, and I've gotten the impression from some of the tattoo conventions I've attended.
Ooh, sorry.
That it's purely aesthetically motivated now. Like, it doesn't, it's not like, hey, I got this tattoo because it's built into me and how I think and how I view the world.
Right, like you're
It's
using
just-
it as like you and I get pieces done because it's like a certain time of our life that is maybe we're going through something or whatever, and we get that, and now it's a personal piece for us.
Right, versus just
Just
like a cool T-shirt. Wow,
Right.
that T-shirt has got a sick design on it. I'm going to buy that T-shirt for $30.
and that's where this article was going.
Right.
Is that it needs to go back to people understanding that this wasn't about being this fashionista or being the cool kid. It's about getting these pieces during you're making it personal for yourself for whatever reason, and I don't care what it is. It doesn't matter if it's a Care Bear tattoo. If that means something to you, then that's cool. That's so be it. Then you get it. But just because some jackass on TikTok has this tattoo and you think it's cool and it made them popular, so I'm going to go get the same thing, you're doing it for the wrong reasons, man. Wrong reasons.
And I mean, in other than that, aside from the tattoos that, I think our generation got, like, you knew you were going to have to pay consequences socially, right? Like, I remember walking through the mall with my oldest daughter and people being like, wow, you're really gentle with her. I wouldn't expect that from somebody like you.
It's funny?
Because I was so, like, tattooed as if, what do you think I do, eat kids? And the other thing is when you had to pay the social cost of being heavily tattooed, that's what made it appealing. Like, yeah, like
A little edge to it.
yeah, like F
Little
you.
gritty.
Yeah,
Little gritty.
yeah.
I got a funny story about,
All right, about eating kids.
Nah, man, about the whole, like, you're talking about being in the mall or whatever.
Yeah,
So today, I'm all amped to wear this shirt today for the live stream, right?
right. Tattooed low life.
Because I think it's cool.
Yeah,
And then I get a phone call, and I got to go over to where my mom is at the rehab. And I literally thought about it for 2 seconds, and I went, I got to go change my shirt. Because it's the first time I'm going to see any of these people in this rehab.
Yep.
And, the nurses or patients, whatever. And I'm like, and then I changed my shirt and put a different shirt on, right? And I tell my sister that what I did, and she laughs at me. She's like, why? And I go, it's because she's not tattooed. I said, I typically on a regular basis don't even think about the fact that I have tattoos at all.
right.
Don't think about it when I'm at the grocery store or, whatever.
Because we're immersed in it.
But here I am rolling into this rehab, and then I'm wearing a tattooed low life shirt. Like, I felt like the whole vibe that I was going to be throwing was going to be like, what the F did we just get into accepting this lady? Because my mom is not, she's a firecracker of an old Russian broad, but she ain't gangster.
Right. I mean, even I've owned my shop now for 10 and a half years. On my block, I'm the third longest surviving business in the downtown area. Right? At least on this block. And I still, whenever I have to deal with people from the township or from the county or inspectors, I should be a respected businessman at this point, right? I've pumped a...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I see what you're saying.
Nope. Got a facial tattoo.
So,
And that's the other thing That's what I was trying to formulate before. So, to get your hands, your throat, and your face tattooed was like something that you earned.
Right. You didn't just jump into that pool.
So it was a stronger statement and got a stronger reaction when you had your face, your throat, and your hands tattooed. Because even if people could accept a tattoo on an arm, a tattoo on a throat or hands was just, that was outside their realm of experience.
Right.
And now, right, what's the first thing that little Joey gets?
See, but that's where I was just getting ready to say. So knowing that and knowing that that is the vibe that whole thing does, there's kids now that are skipping arms and areas to go for that, to go straight for that vibe, and they're really not thinking about the consequences down the road of, hey, you know what, man, I might go to school and be a lawyer and da-da-da. Well, now you can't because, well, you could. But it's going to definitely, it's going to put you in a bad spot. Let's just put it that way.
So I was talking to a guy yesterday. This guy has his hands tattooed and his throat tattooed. And he was talking about he wants to apply to the pipe fitters union. Right? So, yeah, it's a good paying.
Yeah, right.
It's a good paying living.
Sure.
And then he's like, man, but and then we're talking further and he starts talking about getting a tattoo on his face because, his throat's done, his hands are done. And I'm like, bro, you might want to hold off on that until after trying to get into the pipe fitters union.
Might be frowned upon?
Yeah.
I would think most of those guys are probably tattooed up.
Right, but
tattooed.
They're his face.
Yeah, no, I got you.
Like that, that's still,
So we got Sarah saying yes to the bird flu. Jesus. Yes to the tattoo flu. Truth Addiction stopped in.
Hey, man.
Good evening, gentlemen. I think there's different kinds of regret for tattoos, but I would believe the more thought out and meaning that you put into a tattoo, the less regret. Great show, boys. And Sarah made a comment to my whole patchwork 4 bangers at a time as the sticker sleeves. She said, I've seen artists advertise this, and they do a whole sleeve in a few hours because it's all small line work. Usually simple, repeatable flash. I don't think all tattoos need deep meaning, but there is something personal as to why you're choosing it. You are more likely to like it long term, I think. Exactly what Buck is saying. So, meaning, I don't know about you, but I could probably point to almost every one of my tattoos and go, this is where my head was at when I got them. The majority of them, not every one of them, but there's certain times of my life where I got things where I was like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I have some of those, but I also have like, hey man, that flaming skull looks pretty cool.
Yeah, but you know what, dude? You're in a different category than a majority of us. You're a tattoo artist, so for you, you're I don't know, man. I guess I'm trying to say is like the more tattoos, the better.
Yeah.
It's your business, right? Like that's what you do. I would think that a majority of the people out there are not as impulsive as you are. So, like there's just, I think that if you put more thought into it and there's a reason or whatever, or maybe there's not a personal reason, but you at least put the thought into it, you're going to have less regret later on.
Absolutely.
That's all. And, man, really, this article really points that out where it's like you need to really make sure you're doing your research and all that stuff that goes along with it. We preach this almost every freaking show. Like, man, make sure you're really looking into everything. And then when you do that, 9 times out of 10, you probably won't have any regret.
And if you're getting tattooed, like, in a certain way, like, I'm going to be less likely to regret a tattoo that I had a good rapport with the artist. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Because I'm still of the idea that, I mean, I have really well done tattoos on me that were done by people that there was no rapport, and I have no interest in getting tattooed by them again. And then I have tattoos on me that maybe aren't the best, but I got along great with the guy.
And then you have people out there that are just tattoo collectors.
Chris Longo.
Right. There was another gentleman there yesterday. Man, he told me his name twice, dude, and I'm so bad with names, and I can't remember his name. But I actually thought at first, when I first saw him, he looked like Dana Brunson, and I went, wait a minute, it can't be him because he's in Bristol for the tattoo convention. But this guy, apparently he's very well known, and he's got a lot of pieces from different artists and stuff like that. And, you know, immediately I thought about Penny Funk.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I really wished I would have got the interview when I had the chance to interview her, but that kind of got jacked up. But, you know, man, she's got like the creme de la creme of tattoo legends that she's got tattoos done by.
Yep.
I mean, she can just go right down the line. I mean, we're talking about a lady that's in her late 70s or ish that's covered from the neck down, and she could just point to everyone and be like, oh man, Burt Grimm did this, and Bob Shaw did this, and Jack Rudy did this one, and you know, she'll tell a little funny little story about each one, or the time that she got them, or whatever, you know what I mean? Or I got this one from so and so because Eddie was too busy drinking his screwdrivers and da-da-da, so I went over to this booth and got a tattoo. So I think there's people out there like that as well. But they're obviously not the ones that are going to have any regret. So yesterday, as I was walking around and I was talking to a lot of different tattoo artists, there was a big kind of agreement on some of the topic that we talked about last week about these big companies that are putting out, like, let's say, wonky studies where, you know, man, they're not necessarily taking a huge sample of people to try to put out bad information to make it so that these big companies could push the little mom and pop joints out of the business, whether that's ink or pigments or machines, you know. And I'm starting to see now where the artists seem like they're joining together to make it so that doesn't happen. Then there's also the artists that don't give a shit because they're getting sponsored and they're getting their free gloves and ointments and whatever else they get. Did you feel like you saw any of that while you were at Asbury for their convention?
I mean, there was definitely the cowboy tattooers that just want to do it their own way and don't want to be, you know, messed with. And there's guys that will stay loyal to different companies that only sell to tattooers, only sell to tattoo shops that will vet their customers.
Right.
And yeah, and then there's a lot of, for lack of a better word, newer tattooers, kids, and their perspective is so different. It's like there's a shop that's opening up pretty near me now.
Not even a half mile away.
Right. And there was a time when that would have been dealt with very differently.
With a heavy hand.
With a heavy hand. That's a good way to put it. But I realized that the person that's opening this shop comes from a place where it wouldn't even occur to her, or that person, him, her, I'm not sure who it is, to come to me and say, hey, this is what I'm doing, just out of respect, not asking my permission, but just letting me know that that's what she's doing, that's what that person's doing, and opening.
It's he or she, we're not sure.
Yeah, he or she. You know what I mean? Because that's a huge change. And I'm not mad at this person that's opening this other shop for not coming here and talking to me, because I understand that that's not the tattoo world that they're from.
Right.
They're from a newer tattoo world where, like, it's like pizza places, and Giuseppe's Pizza doesn't get mad when, or they don't have any recourse when, Three Brothers Pizzas opens up across the street.
So that's also,
and it's the same thing. And the whole point of that long-winded thing was, it's the same thing with the kids that are coming up that are dealing with these like bigger companies that are supplying their inks and their machines, and they just think that's the way it is.
I think that this is where we come into it, man. I'm not talking about necessarily this live stream per se, although we do talk about it a lot. But like, man, if we really start to focus on the traditions and the history of this, maybe it'll open the eyes to some of the newer kids. I don't know, man. I really, if you really looked at my like age range, it seems like it's like 25 or older. I think just recently we started getting some of the younger demographic for whatever reason. I don't know if it's because of the topics I've picked on some recent videos or whatever, but I think that if we shine a light on that, the traditions and the history of this, maybe it'll stop some of that. Another thing that I think is going to turn the tables, and this was very much discussed yesterday by a lot of people, that now that COVID money is gone, there are going to be a bunch of shops that opened up during that time frame that thought, okay, man, here's my gold rush, I'm getting in on this, that they're going to not be around soon because they're starting to realize that with the economy being as shitty as it is, and this not needed, nobody needs a tattoo. You need gas, you need groceries, you need milk and bread. You don't need a tattoo.
I do.
So I think what's going to happen is, I think a lot of these newer shops that don't have the history and the reputation and whatever are going to start folding.
I mean, you have to love tattooing. Like, sooner or later when the tide turns and not everybody wants to get tattooed anymore, which is going to happen, and older people are getting their tattoos removed, and the economy is a little harder. If you don't love tattooing, why would you stay? I mean, so recently I know of a guy who's a tattooer, had, 6-10 years in. He just left because he's got a teaching degree.
Right.
He became an elementary school teacher.
Now, is that because the gold rush is over?
I mean,
kind of what it looks like, right?
It's kind of what it looks like.
Now, you just said something pretty interesting, and I think kind of goes into the same thought of the article we just talked about. So now that we have a generation of people that are going in and removing tattoos, and they're not, they're more geared towards the trend of it, is that going to decrease the amount of people that are going to get tattooed? Also, which would hamper that, right?
I mean, when is it going to become passé? When is it going to lose? Like, not to tattooed people, right? But to Joe Public.
Right.
Like, I remember a video you did where some smartass made a comment like, everybody's everybody's tattooed, there's no rebellion in it anymore, Yeah. And to a degree, like, I mean,
he's kind of right.
Yeah, when Aunt Bess is tattooed, it's like with Facebook, when your mom got on when your mom started a Facebook, it was time to move on.
Well, do you think it's at the point right now where it's jumped the shark, so to speak?
I don't think yet. No,
It's coming.
and I'm going to say not yet because there's, I mean, for instance, Post Malone,
Okay.
huge influence on the tattoo world, right?
Okay.
Jelly Roll, another guy that's pretty heavily tattooed. But, you know,
I think that also this would not be our forte, but we know enough to at least bring it up. But I think that the rap
oh yeah,
era,
absolutely.
those guys are really ramping up the whole tattoo thing as well. I think there's athletes out there that are really ramping it up, especially the NBA, man. Dude, if you see, here's a perfect example for anyone out there watching right now. Go to YouTube and look up a Michael Jordan game from back in the day when he was running and gunning and doing his thing, right? I think the only person back then that was tattooed was Dennis Rodman.
And
there
then,
may have been maybe one or two other ones.
and then there was the white dude that was really tattooed. I think from somewhere in the Southwest.
He was like
Birdman?
Birdman.
Birdman,
Yeah.
yeah.
But that's right when
Right.
it kind of like broke the hill. Now you watch an NBA game,
They're all linked up.
I would say find me one guy on a team that's not tattooed. It's kind of exploded to, let's even go another step, football. And I don't mean American football. I mean, Premier League football over in the UK. Beckham winds up getting a shitload of tattoos. Lau Hardy said himself, man, once that happened, dude, he actually was like the unofficial tattoo artist for Tottenham Hotspurs because all those guys were coming in and getting ink from him. And
I mean, once Beckham married Posh Spice, yeah.
well, I mean,
I was always partial to Ginger personally, but Posh, yes.
Drag said here in Europe, it's still growing a lot every year. After we're all got low 2 years ago. I'm not sure what he's. So, like you're saying, during COVID is when you saw the boom? Or no, actually got low 2 years ago. So it started to drop because they closed all the shops. Yeah, I mean, I think that happened here, but what happened is once we got out of that era of everything's being closed and everybody had that extra money sitting in their pocket, man, it was like boom. It was an explosion. So I don't know if it necessarily jumped the shark yet, but I've heard you say that before, and I've heard I actually heard it a couple times yesterday. That is it. When is it going to become like this, like passe kind of not cool to have tattoos?
Not cool to have tattoos.
Right.
Yes.
And I think that is coming, man, because the times are changing and people are, I think what's going to happen is it's going to be where so many people have them that nobody stands out anymore. And now the person that wants to stand out is going to be the guy that says, or girl that says, I don't want to get tattooed.
I mean, I recently saw a comedian. I don't know, I probably brought this up before. And he said that he did a whole bit about if you're 25 and heavily tattooed, he's like, I don't,
Yeah,
you don't scare me. You're just a guy with tattoos. He's like, if you're 50 plus and you're tattooed, yeah, you were living some kind of life.
Drag said the reach. It's the new laws for tattoo artists. Colors and stuff have to pass tests. So I know that they are doing a lot of the colors and whatnot are getting a lot stricter over in the UK and in Europe. I think the European Union was actually trying to ban certain colors and stuff like that. And we should actually, you know what, man, maybe we'll look into that and bring that up next week because I think that'd be a cool topic because when's that going to happen here?
So as I understand it, we can't sell our beef in parts of Europe.
Correct.
Right, because our beef is too toxic.
Yeah, we
for
put
them.
too much stuff in it.
Right.
I tell you what, I
But
was
you-
I
you-
was in Glasgow, Scotland, at a steakhouse.
Where Scotland, where they eat sheep stomach, incidentally.
Hey man, I like haggis.
Give me some haggis.
Yeah, but anyway,
Give me the baby.
you know, we're from the United States, man. We're like, you know, Texas is supposed to have the greatest beef.
Yeah, the steaks,
ever.
man.
You know,
Texican, yeah.
dude, I had a steak in Glasgow. Hands down, best steak I ever had in my entire life. And you know why?
Why?
Because their cows are just eating clover in a field and doing whatever, man. Like, they're not pumping their shit with steroids and antibiotics and putting color in the meat. So when it's out in the on the you know, the, I wanted to say shelf, but the freezer, it's not bright red and doesn't look all, you know what I'm saying?
You know what else is fascinating, man, is did you know that according to the USDA, for every 100 pounds of any kind of food, there's an acceptable amount of, like, dead bugs
Yeah.
and, you know, rat shit. And, I mean, there are FDA guidelines about contaminants in food. So how can they say, you know, the ink is contaminated?
Well, we're going to get into that here in a second.
So the last time we went to Electric Tattoo in Asbury,
Yep.
I was talking to Mike, who's a great tattooer. You know, really admire Mike Swagger. If you
Tattoo historian.
yeah, if you get a chance to get tattooed by him, get tattooed by him. But he had said something like he suspects that it's going to go underground again. He suspects that it's going to get to a point.
Yeah, so our moderator, Nikki, just said, I think if tattoos lose popularity, it will just go back to being the badasses only getting inked, not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Schwager's saying.
Yeah, he thinks
It's going to
that-
be like this underground thing again where I don't know if it's ever going to happen during our lifetime, dude.
And then there are enough. So, like, let's say that the coil machines end up disappearing from the larger tattoo supply houses. And the only reason I'm saying this is that because about a year ago, Buck and I were at a tattoo convention, and I went around looking for springs.
Couldn't find them.
Couldn't find them. And a couple of the guys that ran the tattoo houses, they didn't laugh about it, but they were like, you know, man, we don't do that anymore. That's not financially viable anymore. But there'll always be guys. There'll always be machine builders.
Yeah.
And if you're at a certain level of the game with tattooing, like, let's not to say anything, but like tomorrow, if every coil machine company stops selling coil machines, I'm still going to have coil machines for the rest of my life because I know enough guys that are private builders. And is that like a bad thing, you know?
Right. And I think actually somebody said that to me yesterday. They were like, you know, they can control the inks and they can control these pens and they can control the cartridges and all that other stuff. But they're never going to be able to control somebody that is a machinist or has a milling setup in their house that knows how to build machines because it's metal. They're going to know how to do it and they're going to do it and they're going to build them.
I mean, believe it or believe...
And there's a lot of good builders out there right now, like Ernie Crawford's son.
Paul, yeah.
Kevin Riley.
Mike Pike.
Mike Pike.
And I mean, it would be unbelievable to younger tattooers that... I mean, there was a time where if you wanted a pair of decent machines, you went and saw Paul Rogers in Florida.
Right.
And he made your machines in the shed behind his house.
Right.
I mean, there were so few tattooers that, like, that was part of what you did.
Right.
I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine tattooing being so small that there was like, oh, we got to go to Florida to see Paul? It's unimaginable.
Well, I think, you know, the other thing that's, I think that got screwed up at one point was the amount of people that got into this not because they love tattooing or they love art. They got into it because they felt like they wanted to be this rock star, superstar tattoo artist.
Yeah, or it became a viable, like let's say you do get an art degree in digital art, right? I mean, how many places can you work? You can design websites, you can work in video games, you can potentially animate.
Right.
Or, if you have any kind of artistic skill at all,
you got other avenues.
Right.
It's funny, man, because I ran into man, I can't remember. I am so bad with names, dude. I really need to start like putting numbers and names in my phone. His name was Joe. He's from Sea Caucus, and he actually did the show on Spike TV. It was called Tattoo Recovery.
Right. Yeah.
That was on. And I said to him, dude, how did you get into that show? Did they come to you, or did you come to them with the concept? And I had a reason, and I'll tell you why in a second. He said, no, man, I knew a couple of dudes that were producers, and they were putting this together, and one thing led to another, and they were like, hey, man, you've owned your own tattoo shop up in Sea Caucus for years, man. I think it would be cool for you to do this. Would you be interested? And he was like, yeah, sure, absolutely. He said on the flip side of that, I was also asked to do Ink Masters at one point, and I said no. And I said, well, it's funny you say that because I've met quite a few tattoo artists that said they did not want to do that show because of one particular reason, and this was basically the hands down winner. If it was a straight up competition where it was pitted me against you, and that's all it was, and it was them judging your art and me judging my art, and obviously you'd win because I have no artistic value at all. I could probably draw a stick figure. But if that was it, these guys were like, I would have been in. But the minute that they started to talk about the need to create drama for ratings, that's when everybody was like, not everybody, a majority of them were like, I'm not doing it, dude.
So a guy that worked for me went to the first Ink Master season tryouts. And he was in line with a guy named Tim Kern. Tim Kern worked for Paul Booth, right? He worked, and Paul Booth innovated his own tattoo style. So if he's going to hire a guy, Tim Kern was an incredible tattooer, right? Who didn't get on the show, who didn't get on the first season of Ink Master because it wasn't about the work.
Right.
At all.
It was about the drama and all the other bullshit.
Yeah, it was about, and when I was told that, like that Tim Kern applied and didn't get in there, I just happened to get that inside information because my buddy went. I was like, it's bullshit.
So, Maud, welcome back, man. Thank you for joining us again.
Hey.
Much appreciated. Made a pretty, good comment here. He states, as acceptable as tattoos are getting, I don't think they will ever become the norm. There have been points in history where they were trendy, like how European royals were going to Japan to get tattooed. There is definitely an ebb and flow in the business, and you could see that throughout time. I brought that up when I did the World War II one, where, at that point in time, there were not a lot of people getting tattoos, but then all these guys went, overseas to fight in a war and whatnot, and were getting tattooed, and it started it kind of cranked it back up again.
So, I'm not really sure whether it's the Aztec or the Mayans, right? At one point in their society, they practiced head shaping.
Shaping?
Shaping, yeah. They practiced head shaping, where they would push their foreheads back so that their face would elongate, right?
Yeah.
And that was a societal practice, They practiced extensive body piercing.
Okay.
That was a societal practice. And I mean, in the Aztec, if it was either the Aztec or the Incas, I mean, that was a fully developed society that,
Yeah.
maybe not different than the Western societies, but still. So the point is that sometimes within societies, extensive body modification does become the rule.
So
I mean, foot binding in Japan,
Yeah.
the elongated necks. I don't remember.
Ethiopia.
Right.
Or one of them countries.
I mean, the keloided scarring in the sub-Saharan peoples. I mean,
So Maud said, have y'all heard of the Tattoo Wars? There's a couple of episodes on YouTube. It's hard to find the rest, but it's my favorite show of all time. It has some amazing artists.
is it the one with Capobianco?
I'm curious, though, is if it's Tattoo Wars, is it legit like what we were just saying, where if it was, my tattoo against your tattoo and there wasn't all the drama about the other BS that goes on?
There was a tattoo show. I can't remember which one it was, but it was like a tattoo show based on sort of a Survivor model where you got voted off the island by the other tattooers, not by the judges.
Okay.
You could win an immunity if the judges judged whatever your art. So it was an art project and a tattoo, so you could win immunity from the vote, which I guess is a Survivor thing. If you win,
Never seen it.
I don't know. So my point is that there was a guy from L.A. in the first episode who was like, "This is total bullshit," right? And they had to like make some kind of art project that had to do with flowers, right? So he drew up a stick figure of himself with like sweat marks coming off of him, with like a thought bubble that said, "This sucks," right? And then that night, and of course the judges were like, "We can't believe, you've been given this opportunity." But it's not Ink Master. They can't vote him off. So he goes to the other artists that night for the vote off on the island, and he's like, "Vote me off this show." He's like, "I'm going to go back to my shop. The whatever it was, $15,000, $20,000, $25,000. It's the price here is not worth it. I'll work in my shop and make that over the course of 6 months." And I love that dude. I can't remember who it was, but just the fact that he like totally, I mean, if it was a setup by the producers, it was brilliant. Just the fact that he totally like pissed on the whole thing. It was hilarious.
Maud is saying it's a 1v1. Like there's an episode with Guy Atchison versus Aaron Kane, and they each did a sleeve on the same guy in about a week. That would be cool.
Yeah, that's
to me,
legit.
Yeah, man, that's legit. So that's you're basically you're given a time, do it, and then we'll put your work up against their work, and there's no other extra curricular drama.
Yeah, it's like the thing that Skin and Ink tried to do, where the first matchup was Bugs from London and Aaron Bell from Seattle, and they both had to do large scale Japanese pieces, and they were published in the magazine, and it was like,
that's cool.
Yeah.
Drag said, where this modification in Africa have their roots? It's an interesting story. So yeah, I mean, I think there's different ones that we could talk about, but
so there's a really excellent book, Drag, called Marks of Civilization, and it's a series. I'm going to mess up this word of theses. It's a series of theses about tattooing in different cultures. It goes through Polynesian. Here's actually my copy of it. Marks of Civilization. It goes from Polynesia, Sub-Saharan Africa, Chicano tattooing, modern American tattooing, but it's definitely intellectually written. I mean, there's a lot of photo examples in the book of the different scarification and tattoo styles, but it's not like a tattoo book necessarily.
Right. Just so everybody knows, we are running across the screen right now the address for the 1,000 subs email. If you want to get in on it, now's the time to do it. Hopefully you subscribe to the channel, and there will be a video coming out on probably Tuesday that'll give all the details about the contest that we're running for the 1,000 subscribers. We finally hit it, so we will definitely make sure that you guys get to see all the details and know exactly what we plan on doing and how we're trying to make it as fair as possible. So it is scrolling across the screen right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty incredible book.
Yeah, man. I mean, look, I think that I'm probably going to take a deep dive into the whole I don't know how I'm going to do this yet, but I know that there's a common thought of, Jewish people aren't allowed to get tattooed.
Right, but they are.
And that's not necessarily true. And I found a very well-written article by a professor of theology and something else. He had a couple different titles. But that kind of goes into the whole thing about them. And it might ruffle some feathers, but I'm actually thinking about doing it. Because I thought it was really cool, man. The article, as I dug more and more into it, I don't want to say article because it's like a freaking book, dude. It's long.
So I read a rabbinical opinion.
Yeah.
A rabbinical opinion about what it's Leviticus 19:28, I think.
Okay.
You shall not make any cuttings in your skin for the dead or any marks upon you.
Right.
And
they get into that.
Yeah, that's the.
That's what they're hanging their hat on.
Yeah, the prohibition under Mosaic law.
I think it would be interesting just to kind of chuck it out there, man. I mean, like I said, I think it's going to piss a few people off and ruffle some feathers, but man, that's kind of what we do here.
Right. Just as a fun fact, I mean, according to the Bible, when Jesus comes back, he's going to have a mark on his leg that says King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Where do you think he's going to get that tattooed, man?
Are you serious?
I am 100% serious.
I've never read the Bible.
I did once.
I just,
Yeah.
Anytime there's books are written in the weird language, let's say, other than me reading Train Spotting, which is written with a Scottish accent.
And Train Spotting is, in a sense, a Bible of sorts.
Yeah, for the don't do this at home, kids. It is definitely that Bible. They should show that to every kid in America or in Europe to say, hey, look, don't do drugs, kids. Anyway, man, I hope you guys had the, enjoyed the show tonight. We thank you for stopping out. As always, much appreciated. Can't do this without you. And we hope you all have a great week, and we will catch you next Sunday.
And Drag, if you actually decide to look for the Marks of Civilization book and can't find it, message the channel, and I might be able to look it up.
There you go.
And see if I can find it through some tattoo book dealers.
And then we'll get it sent to you. He's still having problems getting onto the. He said earlier that he was having a problem emailing or something us, so we'll figure it out, man.
Okay.
Have a great week, everyone.